16. Bud Feldkamp is in the chair, and the car has just taken over the lead.
Off-road racing is like fishing. Every off-road racer has a story about the one that got away. You know, how many times have we heard that? I think it was, you know, riding dirt bikes in the hills afterward. I always wanted a dirt bike, but never could afford one, was around anybody that had them. And but until I got into dental school, and the hills are right behind us here, and a lot of the guys were riding after school in the local hills, and so I wanted one. And I know my first motorcycle was a Honda 160 Scrambler, and it cost $400. And at the time, I talked to my girlfriend at the time to loan me the $400 so I could buy the bike, because I told her, this is all I'll ever need. This bike is so cool. This is all I'll ever need. And to her credit, she loaned me the $400, and I married her, and I think I paid her back, I think. Malcolm had, first year he raced a car by himself. You know, he'd been on motorcycles. He had teamed up with guys like Jay and Roberts and Torsten Hallman and those guys. But then he decided to race a car, so he built the car in 1970, probably, or 1971, probably 71, raced 1,000. And it was, I think he realized what a big commitment it was, not only to build the car himself, but also to race all the way to La Paz. And back then, there were a lot of two-track roads, and it wasn't like a graded road fast. I mean, it took like 20 hours.
Here is the story car of the race, ladies and gentlemen. Bud Feldkamp and Malcolm Smith. After an extremely disastrous first lap, which saw Malcolm Smith in the desert before the first checkpoint, on his roof for half an hour. Feldkamp's knowledge of the desert, Malcolm Smith's driving smoothness have pulled this car back into the lead.
And I think he had not seen me race, but I had raced with a guy named Mel Tyree in a Class 9 car, and in a Baja 500 that year. And so I got talking to Malcolm, and he said, well, he'd be interested in teaming up, and if I'd pay half the expenses. I don't know if he thought I was a good enough driver, but I think he liked the fact that I was going to pay half the expenses. So we raced 1,000 that year, and that was like 72, I think, and I wanted to do a good job, you know, because I was the junior guy. I mean, Malcolm was already the hero. He had done the movie on Any Sunday and everything. And Glen Helen came about basically a little bit because of the Baja, and my winning in the Baja. The local political officials in San Bernardino knew of me. One of the gentlemen knew of me, and knew my record in racing, knew my involvement in racing, and they have this park, this 250-acre county land that they wanted to make an off-road vehicle park in, you know, and they own it, and they wanted a concessionaire to come lease it. Well, this gentleman was the county supervisor at the time said, Bud, why don't you put a bid in, you know, and on this, you know about racing and stuff like that. And I said, sure. So I put a bid in the county, and I got it. I had a partner at the time, but that didn't last for about a year. And then there was some struggle there in the 80s until Glen Helen didn't really take off until the late 90s. But it was the early years were pretty slim, you know. In fact, Malcolm would ask me, Bud, what are you doing out there in Glen Helen with all that dirt and all those motorcycles? What are you doing out there? I mean, you're not going to make any money out there, you know. And that, he's kind of giving me a bad time about it. I said, Malcolm, I think it will work. It will work. And now when Malcolm, we go to social occasion, he'll introduce me as, this is Bud Feldkamp. He owns Glen Helen, you know. So he's changed his tune a little bit. I think Glen Helen has really come a long ways. To see everybody using it, I want it to be a place of fun and enjoyment and adventure. You know, I think we have way too much structure in our world, and I got involved in off-road because it was an adventure. It was something that out of the norm, you know, and you could take some risks. You could go down and throw your leg over a motorcycle and chase down to Baja and chase down to Cabo not knowing what you're going to entail, and the average person wouldn't even think twice about going to Mexico. Even back then, back in the 70s, people wouldn't, they were scared of Mexico. They were scared of the unknown. I really enjoy the fact that when I go out there, I see families, I see campfires. Campfires. I mean, you can have a campfire in the LA Basin with people sitting around telling stories, making memories and enjoying friendships and camaraderie, and that's what it's all about. Okay, the Off-Road Hall of Fame is a venue or pinnacle of memories, and a lot of our memories in racing, people ask you, what's your favorite memory of racing? And it usually isn't about a race. It's not about a race car. It's not about a turn or somebody passing you. It's about the friendships and people that you meet and the stories you tell about people, that whether it's pre-running or whether it's going camping to get ready, and the family that goes. I mean, those are the really things that you remember, and those are what makes the memories, and those events generate the stories, and the stories generate the memories, and if you didn't have somebody to tell your stories to, you'd have no memories, I think.
Amy, what do you think, huh? All right. Hey, Maggie, give me 5 on the white side. All right.
The order of finish in the Mint 400 was first Malcolm Smith and Bud Feldkamp, car 16. And Bob Rodine, car 74, hung on for 5th. Join us next week for another type of racing and see what it's like to be one of the racers.